don't forget to like and subscribe.
Hello there. Hello there. I once again started continuing my book that I wrote. It's funny going back and rereading my work. Catching errors and things like that. Things that I wish I would have changed. But the goal was just to start writing. And I'll improve as I go along. I hope book 2 will be much, much better. Not that 1 is bad. I actually am enjoying rereading my work, but then again, who knows? Maybe I'm a narcissist and just enjoy my own stuff. Okay, time to continue chapter 4. And this will be part 2 of chapter 4. I think I'm on chapter 4. It's called Ash's Magic. Ash previously just awakened his magic. He was being beaten on by a few kids, and his magic awoke. And yeah, apparently there's a group coming to harass. It's a mob. A mob has arrived. So that's where we left off. His father went out to go address the crowd. The last thing his father said was, "Now that's far enough." Ash heard his father say with an authoritative voice. And yeah, hopefully you watched the previous video or have actually read the book and just wanted to hear me butcher my own work. Okay. Where is he? A villager's voice he couldn't quite make out said, "Look at what he did." Ash could hear a few lighter steps drawing near. Oh, so these are the boys. Ash heard his father's voice grow cold. He should have known your monster. We should have known your monster child would attack other kids, the villager said with disdain. He is your child after all, and you have a lot of monsters in there, the man said, peering around the corner to look at the wood and leather cottage. The gathering crowd behind the speaker nodded and yelled in agreement. Ash got up from where he... Don't turn on me. Ash got up from where he was sitting and began to walk toward the door. His mother set her hand on the back of his shoulder and gave him a gentle smile before letting him continue to look out through the front door. He was shocked as the midday sky grew dark with clouds. Not the everyday clouds, but swirling clouds as black as night, full of blinks of light and the sound of thunder. Monster! How dare you call my child such? A massive flash filled the sky as sparks flashed, crackling between his fingers. The thunder flowed. The thunder followed each sentence his father made as if it was an exclamation point. My son has more reason than most to hate. The people began to cower and hide behind one another as most in the back began to turn and flee, having lost their courage. My son takes your stares, your criticism, and your hate, yet he has never done anything in turn. Tears began to fall down Ash's face. He had not noticed when they had started to make their way down his face, but now they were freely falling. His siblings were all bunched around him, and his mother set her hand on his head, ruffling his white hair. My son is better than the rest of you. When his father finished speaking, everyone had gone except for the 3 boys who were too terrified to run and the one villager who Ash now recognized. He was the father of the boy who had shoved him to the ground. Peter's father. The self-proclaimed leader of the village. The skies began to clear, and the sun shone through the clouds into the cottage. Ash started to walk out, then stopped and turned to the Drake Wolf. "Stay," he instructed him. The Drake Wolf let out a displeased growl with the command, but sat down on his hind legs. Ash then continued out the front door and approached his father. His father turned to look down into Ash's eyes. "I am sorry, Ash." His father looked back to the boys. "Well?" The three looked at the father, then looked at each other. "Sorry," one of them mumbled under his breath. Then they all looked at Ash with slight fear. "Sorry. We are sorry." Ash finally spoke up. "Why are we always at odds? We never even really knew each other." The three boys looked at each other, and then the pudgy one looked up at his father, and then back at Ash. "I am sorry," Peter said. "We only had an issue with you because of our parents." The other two boys nodded along with him. "Be quiet. We are out here. We are out of here," the boy's father said as he grabbed Peter's arm and began to pull him to leave. The boy pulled his shoulder out of his father's grip. "No, Dad, I am not going." "Now listen here," the boy's father began to say. He was cut off by Ash's father. "Don't discipline your son in the presence of strangers," he said in his commanding voice. The boy's father looked as if he was going to explode, staring directly at Ash's father. Then he turned and went angrily off back down the main road toward the village. The boy watched his father storm down the path that had already been cleared free of snow due to all the previous foot traffic, then turned back to Ash. "I am sorry. I guess we've never actually been introduced." "My name is Peter," the pudgy boy said. "And this is Gerd and Hollis," setting his hands on the shoulders of the boys flanking him. Peter was slightly taller than the other two boys. He had blonde hair, blue eyes, and showed signs of his family's wealth, with how well his cheeks were filled out. Gerd and Hollis were both shorter than even Ash, and they each had the same distinct kind of features: dark brown hair and hazel green eyes. They were half-brothers. Their mothers lived together, but their shared father had disappeared after going out to hunt one day. The two women who had once hated each other had become close after he left and worked together to raise both boys. "Okay, Ash. You are far younger. Okay, Ash. You are far younger than any other before in our family to receive training, but it's better to start now," Ash's father said. "Boys, time to go home," he ordered, looking at the three boys. Peter hesitated and scuffed his foot into the ground. "Is it okay if we watch? It's rare to see magic. My father tends to banish anyone who can use it," he said with embarrassment. The boys looked at Ash's father and then at Ash. Corian looked at Ash, allowing him to respond. Well, sure. It could be fun. Ash looked at the boys. Might be nice to have some target practice, Ash said with a mischievous grin. The three boys looked at each other sheepishly, and then shrugged their shoulders at one another. They all walked around to the side of the cottage, which now featured a simple fence of logs laying on top of one another, horizontally, with 2 logs in the ground vertically holding them in place. Inside the pen next to the house ran around various creatures that could be found in the forest. None of the creatures were the vicious types from the woods. Hollis began to whimper a bit, and he tugged on the sleeves of Peter and Gerd as they walked to where Ash's father would train him. What is it? Peter asked, turning around and falling silent in seeing what had frightened Hollis. Yeah, I'm going to stop it there. Yeah, just to keep this one short. I like the beats I'm going with. I'm just going to leave it there. Yeah, please support me by, purchasing on book 2, which is coming out soon, or if depending on when you're watching this, 3, 4, 5, 6, 49, or the sci-fi series I'm working on at this point in time, or the drama I'm working on at this point in time. Who knows? I might be old and have a white beard and actually have several different stories I'm working on. Hopefully I get to that point. Yeah, I have a lot I want to do. Thank you all for watching, listening. I've really got to figure out the best way to end this one. Or is my babbling good enough? Thank you all for listening, watching. Thank you all for tuning in. Till next time, toodles!